esteemed colleagues in the movie reviewing world were taking a crack at it and thought, "Huh, I should check this out." I did. I did a little research on it. I agree. This has got to be a terrible movie. So much so that I'm going to go look for a copy of this, and I'm definitely going to see if I can get that thing down there to watch it, because I just think that is awful. The whole premise just sounds stupid and ridiculous, and if I had this in my collection, I probably would stick it up and say, this is the worst movie in my collection. So good for you, Zork86. Red Mage mentioned something that should be very close to the hearts and minds of all of us that grew up with the Red Plumber from Nintendo. That's right, I'm talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie. Or, I'm sorry, it's called Super Mario Brothers, the movie. This thing was a vile, horrible piece of crap. Guys, do you remember when you were a kid and you watched something that was probably really crappy and you said, wow, this is great, stuff blew up, there were ninjas, and, you know, karate, and people were, you know, getting, you know, winning, saving the day, and getting the chicas. Yes, we all remember those things. We like them. That's cool. This movie was so bad that even as a kid, like, I think Super Mario Brothers the movie helped to kind of create a little bit of the cynicism that was born in my teenage years. Because when I saw that movie in the theater, I walked out going, what the hell was that? That was absolutely horrible. I don't know why they made this movie. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. Fast forward several years later, I'm in graduate school. And I have a professor of performance that I'm talking to. His wife happened to be in the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I went downstairs as he kind of showed off some of the things that he's got in his collection, showed several of us the director's chair from Super Mario Brothers, the movie. And I just kind of sat there in awe. This was before camera phones and all this kind of stuff. I was like, you know, I should have just taken a picture of it. Actually, it wasn't before that. I could have just flipped it up and taken a picture and got myself in it or whatever. But in any case, it's so terrible of a movie. It's so bad that there's really nothing redeeming about it at all. It's awful in pretty much every dimension. I don't even know where to go with it. I would love to just go watch it again now, just to remember how awful it is, and now to be able to kind of have the critical tools necessary to make an argument about it. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that happen. In any case, I don't think I could stomach it, to be honest. Great suggestion, Red Mage. Love that one. Evening Bean. This one is one of the ones that made me laugh out loud, and I had to see it to believe it. So thank you for including links on this one. Suggested. It's difficult to even say the title of this film without laughing. Nazis at the Center of the Earth. Yes, that is a real title of a real movie. As you can see from the links from Evening Bean, who he provided generously for us all. I have not seen this movie. This movie looks to be on the crap level of pretty much every original sci-fi movie. And those of you that have been around long enough with the Clan of the Grey Wolf know that we did an entire podcast way back when on how awful the Sci-Fi Channel has become. Ice spiders, you know, and the like. This movie looks even worse than that, and that is pretty bad. So I am also going to put a star next to this one. I'm going to have to find a way to see this movie. I think it's dubbed. I think it's all entirely in German and dubbed, which means it could probably challenge my understanding of German, which would be interesting. But anytime you have a super mecha Hitler, that's pretty fucking bad. That's an awful movie. So I got to tell you guys, wow, that's a really bad one. I got to check that one out. I Feel Asleep put up the awful director Uwe Boll's rendition of the game Postal, which I don't think have anything to do with the game Postal. It's just that there was a licensed property, and I don't even remember the game Postal. I very vaguely remember Postal at all. But I remember how awful this movie was. It's absolutely terrible. Pretty much every Uwe Boll movie ever made is awful. The only one I would say, was engaging with me for a little while was Blood Rain. Blood Rain actually wasn't awful. There were a couple scenes in Blood Rain that were just terrible, like beyond bad, like awful bad. If you take those out of the movie, if you just cut them out, whether they advance the plot or not, if you just cut those scenes out, I think Blood Rain's actually not a bad film. Call me crazy. But anyway, Uwe Boll has made so many awful movies, it's not even worth mentioning the fact that there are so many of them. But Postal is an awful movie, and I don't even know where to go with that. It's just terrible in every single dimension. Don't see it unless you have a lot of alcohol and a lot of friends. Then it might be fun. Nightwolf mentioned Good Burger. Folks, this is a classic. I am so glad someone mentioned this. So for those of you that don't know, Good Burger was a show on Nickelodeon in the 90s, starring Keenan and Kel. Keenan of Mighty Ducks and now Saturday Night Live fame, and Kel, who's probably dealing drugs somewhere on a corner. Was that bad? Should I said that? I shouldn't have said that, guys. I should take that out in post. The point is, Kel is not doing nearly as well as Keenan is. So Keenan and Kel, they made a movie from the Good Burger property from Nickelodeon in the 90s, and the movie was shockingly called Good Burger. This movie is awful. This movie is terrible. To call this movie anything but awful and terrible is to lie, fundamentally, about the laws of the universe. It is to deny the existence of gravity. It is to really deny the nature of humanity to call this anything but a terrible and awful movie. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I'm so glad I never have to hear Kel do the stupid surfer, whatever kind of accent he was doing in all those sketches. And thank God that Keenan is now doing Bill Cosby on Saturday Night Live rather than all that. I think I speak for all of us when I say that. Mr. Andy Cretin talked about a movie. This is, I'm going to tell you guys right now. So some weeks go by, guys, and I don't have a favorite comment. Sometimes weeks go by where I just kind of, I love everything you guys are doing. There is no favorite. I can't pick a clear winner. This week, I got to tell you, Mr. Andy Cretin's comment about going overboard, I was laughing out loud, and I had no idea what he was talking about. So I had to go look this up. I had to go look up Going Overboard, and I must see this film. If I watch this film, I will be glad to do some kind of Commodore review video of it, because just the premise itself seems absolutely hilarious. And perhaps it was just the lack of memory that Mr. Andy Cretin was able to I guess, remember some of the key elements of the plot. That made it even better. I just sat there and laughed. You did not even really remember what happens in the movie, but you know it was awful. That's pretty bad. So I'm definitely gonna throw that one out there for you. That's a great one. In any case, those were the comments I wanted to highlight for this week, and I wanted to give you an honorable mention because I can't in all good conscience put this out there, but I understand why some people might say this. Troy Loza Tomata, several of you mentioned Episode 1. Star Wars Episode 1. The Phantom Menace. I can't get down with that, guys. Here's why. I'm not saying it's not that I don't think it's a bad movie. It's not that I don't think it does a lot of terrible things. But folks, if the worst movies in the world were Episode 1 bad, then the world would be a wonderful, beautiful place. Okay? Because Episode 1 does a lot of great things that movies of a quarter of the caliber don't do well, and it shows, right? And it's not about just getting really good actors. It really is it has a definitive plot line. You might not like it, you might not think it makes a lot of sense, but the plot is there. It's got endearing characters of some kind. Even if you don't necessarily think that there should be people that are included there that were just ridiculous, like C-3PO, for example. C-3PO is just as good in these movies as he was in the other ones. It just so happens that the writing is so poor that C-3PO can't be the Greek chorus of that they were in the original trilogy. But folks, think about how bad some of the worst movies you've ever seen have been. Episode 1 can't even come close. Am I right about that? I mean, am I clear? Make comments or send me a tweet or whatever you want to do at It's the Commodore at It's the Commodore on Twitter, I should say, all one word. Just send me something out there if you think I'm terribly wrong about this. But I cannot, in good conscience, put Star Wars Episode 1 as among the worst movies ever made. I can't do it. Is it my favorite movie? No. Is it a bad movie? I'd say it's okay. But I would not put it among the worst movies ever made by any stretch of the imagination. That leads me, though, to talking to you guys about my worst movie in my collection. I thought long and hard about this. I've got some real stinkers, folks. But nothing on the couch. I've never been kind of a dumpster diver, $5 bin at Walmart kind of movies collector. But I do have some really, really bad DVDs that I am pretty ashamed of. The one that I'm probably going to be throwing out after serious consideration and a few years of ownership at this point is the second Resident Evil movie, which only came as a package deal with other movies I got from like a dollar deal at Walmart. That movie is the most vile, disgusting piece of garbage I may have ever seen, and I hope that movie burns in hell. It is absolutely horrible. So that movie's really, really bad, but I don't think that movie is as bad or as embarrassing as the movie I'm about to show you. And I do have some other ones that are from that kind of dumpster, things that aren't really even movies, like documentaries that aren't real documentaries. They're just money grabs of people that got stock footage and kind of, like Fun with the Fab Four. It's just like all this crap footage of the Beatles without narration, and they can't even play the Beatles music, so they play like likeness of the Beatles music. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Anyway, I don't even know how to introduce this movie. It's just bad all around. And as much as you might have loved, Saturday Night Live back in the 90s, this movie's just terrible. Corky Romano. This movie is in my collection, and it is absolutely. It's bad. It's really bad. And it says right at the top, from two of the producers that brought you Waterboy. Now, like not the most important producer that brought you Waterboy, like say Adam Sandler, but the other two producers that brought you Waterboy is now bringing you Chris Kattan in Corky Romano. This movie is bad on every level. There are a few chuckles to be had, and I do remember them. All of them are in the preview, so just watch the preview, and you never have to watch the movie. I think of like Chris Kattan in like the Girl Scouts little uniform going, "You guys want some cookies?" Like that's mildly chuckleable. Where he sings in this movie, he sings "Take on Me" in his convertible. That's funny. That is legitimately funny. That is the only funny moment out of the entire movie. The rest is absolutely awful. Don't waste your time with it. I don't even know why I still have it. In fact, I should just go back and watch this thing just to see if I remember it being this bad, and it actually really is this bad. Because I can't get over it. I remember it being just so freaking horrible. And I know why I got it. The only reason I have it is because it was a gift. I mean, you can't throw gifts away. Someone gives you something. This was many, many years ago, I think, as a joke gift for my birthday. Someone got me Corky Romano, and I still have it. I'm paying the price all these years later of their crappy present giving. And anyway, what an awful movie. I gotta shake that one off. It's just terrible. All right, so that is going to wrap up our conversation of the worst movies in our DVD collection. Great conversation this week, folks. Loved it. And I think we're going to shift gears really, really heavily for next week, because I wanted to ask, here's, for those of you that don't know, we just came back from PAX East. And PAX East this year was actually really, really good. There were some flaws in it. We can talk about that later. We'll probably talk about it on the next Echo Screen, which is coming up in a few weeks, as a matter of fact. So the Echo Screen Live, we'll do a little rehash of PAX. But one of the things I was struck by at PAX this year was that more than ever, there seemed to be a lot of really good games that were coming up or had just come out, or people were working really, really hard on at the moment to bring to the public, right? And I think I was struck by that. I was struck by how many cool concepts. There really were. From tablet-based games to the new